How's it going, guys, and welcome. So today, guys, I have two battles that I really wanted to show you guys. I felt like they were fairly interesting, and they also showcase some tactics that I think are going to be really pertinent to the metagame, and also might be a little bit unusual. So the first game is going to be myself as the Greenskins, and I'm going to be facing off against Ark in the Black as the followers of Nagash. So on paper, and even initially, I felt like this was a pretty tough matchup for the Greenskins, but I feel like some of the hidden gems are, and I've probably showed this in a couple battles, but I just cannot speak enough about how good Trolls are in this matchup. So it just feels so strange, just those words coming out of my mouth. So Trolls, on paper, very good against Constructs. I mean, they have better stats. I think they have like 10 more melee attack, like 8 more melee defense. Their weapon strength is better. Obviously, the biggest issue is going to be their leadership, but really, they're just a solid unit in this matchup. Ushapti and Tomb Scorpions and Khemrian War Sphinxes are some of those units that are really punishing to the Greenskins, who are a relatively low leadership faction. But still, another thing a lot of people don't do, they're like, why would I bring Black Orcs in this matchup? Black Orcs are going to get, taken out by the Constructs. If you just look at Ushapti, just on a pure, I guess I could say, on paper again, they have anti-infantry, they have armor piercing, they have good mass, and they're going to be pretty good against Black Orcs. But a lot of people underestimate the power of these guys. They got buffed in the Mortal Empires patch. I can't remember if it was Mortal Empires, but up to 50 weapon strength. And if you put one group of Black Orcs against a group of Ushapti and a group of Skeletons, a lot of times the Black Orcs will actually beat both of them. So definitely a very solid pick, and they're immune to psychology. So as far as my army goes, I do have Black Orcs. I think I have some Goblins in the front line just because I wanted to have a little bit more density. So I got these Unbreakable AP Cloonies. They're not great against Tomb Kings, but honestly in the front line against like Tomb Guards and Skeletons and things like that, these guys will do, they'll do the trick. And they're also unbreakable, which is pretty cool. So I have those. I do have a Goblin Firing Squad, so I have the Night Goblin Archers as well as the Rusty Arrows. 2 groups of Trolls, just in case he goes Construct heavy, because the Trolls have the mass you need. So what you do, you get the Trolls, you just kind of pin down the Ushapti, the Tomb Scorpions, and the Khemrian War Sphinxes. And if you're able to like move the Trolls over the units and then attack and get like a full surround, these guys can just melt Constructs. Definitely very powerful in conjunction with the wall. So what you do is you use Wurzog, you can use FG of the Get, you can use Ere We Go and Fists of Gork, and just really make these Trolls into monsters. One group of Nasty Skulkers in the back just for the slow, and then I also do have the Broken Tusk Mob. Another unit that I think is really underrated in this matchup are the Forest Goblin Spider Riders. You can see I did Vanguard deployment and I was able to catch my opponent over here. So he has Skeleton Horseman Archers, which you don't see terribly often. I was really surprised about this pick, but regardless, I think these guys are solid. They can cycle charge Skeletons, so when the frontline engagement does start and there's like Black Orcs fighting against like Tomb Guards and things like that, I really like to grab the Forest Goblin Spider Riders and have them rear charge the Tomb Guards and things like that. It'll crumble their leadership incredibly quick. It'll apply poison, and even against like Ushapti Great Bows, you get the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, you just sit them on the Great Bows, their poison is going to neuter their already pretty bad combat stats and just kind of tie them up for a long time. So 2 groups of Forest Goblin Spider Riders, one here and one here, and that's pretty much it. For my opponent, he brought a very unusual army. A couple of groups of Skeleton Horseman Archers right here who are probably going to be able to do some pretty good damage, but I do have shield, so probably won't be the end of the world. Aside from that, he has some Crypt Ghouls, a front line of Tomb Guard here, so a very elite Tomb Guard front line. He was probably expecting me to bring a ton of answers for Constructs and hoping that if you went very wide with like anti-infantry type tools that I wouldn't really be adequately prepared, but I do feel like this Greenskin build is pretty much like a good solution against most Tomb King builds. Over here, he does have Ark in the Black, of course, the most powerful lore choice. He has the Tomb Blade, he has Fate of Buna, Spirit Leech, very typical stuff, and 2 groups of Necropolis Knights. So these guys definitely have some potential, good armor piercing, so they can cycle charge Black Orcs. They're obviously going to smash Biggins and, are always a threat. Personally, I think just going with Constructs is a little bit better, but we'll see how it pans out. So right now, there is a skirmish over here on the far side, and that poison is just so useful. Like, he's not able to get away. I mean, he's down to, 58 speed against my 78. And, just, like, able to drag him down a little bit. He does have some Crypt Ghouls here, so the followers of Nagash do have access to these guys. So the Crypt Ghouls are going to be chasing my boys down and starting to drag down some of my Spider Riders, but I really just wanted to commit heavily and get rid of his Skirmish Cav here, hopefully being able to, get in a pretty good situation. So doing the exact same thing, I'm able to use the Forest Goblin Spider Riders to just chase down some of these Skeleton Horseman Archers. Obviously, the Tomb Kings aren't really known for their speed. They only have 76, and I have 78, so we will catch them eventually. But I do stay a little bit too long, and I'm probably going to lose some of these guys. But another reason why I really like Forest Goblin Spider Riders is you can use them in the backline defensively, and if the Tomb Kings, like, oftentimes Tomb Kings players will use Carrion to shut down your firing squad and your other tools like that. So using the Forest Goblin Spider Riders just to munch on the Carrion and then move on is also a very good tactic. So in the front, the Black Orcs are going to be colliding. Ark in the Black is going to be colliding through these guys as well. Probably doing some pretty good damage, but the Trolls are on the job. So Black Orcs are just going to annihilate these Tomb Guard. I'm just talking, just give them the straight business. But the Trolls are going to be nearby, and they're just really going to make quick work of these guys. And you can see you can even use the Trolls to go after Ark in here. So I do pull all of the Trolls to start whacking on him, and you can see they're doing good damage. You drop Effigy of the Get. I have my Goblin Firing Squad, and you can see Wurzog coming in here. So Wurzog, I think, is probably the best choice in this matchup. He's just so strong. And Lore of Death isn't as good, My opponent's able to pop the Tomb Blade of Arkin and the Libra Mortis to give him healing, so a very, very desperate situation, having to use a lot of those cooldowns right out of the gates. But the frontline fight's going well, and you can see the trolls are just going to be smashing all up on these Tomb Guard right here. These guys are down to 61, 58 models, and like, even though the trolls aren't working on armored targets, when you saturate them with black orcs, that is just a ball of destruction. Like, I'm trying to think of something that could deal with this. I mean, the troll leadership does suck, but if you can, bolster them, they seem to do pretty well. So they're going to be fighting, just kind of smashing through this Tomb Guard front line. The Skeleton Horseman Archers in the back, not doing a whole lot. He is coming around with his Necropolis Knights, but I did have my Nasty Skulkers waiting and hiding. So these little guys are going to charge in. I think I drop a Smoke Bomb here in a moment. I can't quite remember. So now that I've broken their charge with the Nasty Skulkers, I'm going to pull in the Broken Tusk Mob, get the Goblin Firing Squad reorganized, and the Piganator himself is going to be coming over here to help out. So we have a good little situation here. The Necropolis Knights are getting relatively low. Arkin the Black has been getting punished this whole fight. And over here, I did use the Forest Goblin Spider Riders to kind of engage and just kind of block up these troops. And I'm going to lose this fight, but these guys have already given me a ton of value. So I do drop the Wa there, or get back here, but I did run out of the radius, so unfortunately it wasn't as good. But the Black Orcs and the Trolls and other guys are able to just do massive work. So you can see the Trolls are going to come over and just start pounding these constructs here, and they hit so darn hard. That's something a lot of people forget, because in so many matchups, and historically speaking, in the history of Total War Warhammer, Trolls were always just a haggard kind of meme unit, but I really feel like they have a home in this matchup. And even if they do get picked off or pushed off, or, kind of not picked off, but pushed off, they do have Regenerate. So oftentimes they come back with like 8 or 9 models, and they're going to be relatively durable. So Arkin the Black with a final charge here into my Goblins, but I did have the Nasty Skulkers and the Pig Lord right here. So I think I do imbue some sort of a buff on the Nasty Skulkers. I'm not sure where he's casting, or is it Foot of Gork? I can't remember what it was. I don't think I brought it this matchup. But I do get that Smoke Bomb here, and the Necropolis Knights with their, their armor is actually, is it sundered right now? It looks like their armor is low. But the Nasty Skulkers are just going to prison shank them so incredibly hard. And what a lot of people underestimate about Wurzog is he has a massive charge bonus. Right now it's 86. He has 350 armor piercing damage, so he can actually lay a huge beating on Arkin the Black and do some really good work. So in the main fight, the Trolls and company are just kind of continuing to work on those Tomb Kings and just getting through these Ushapti summon. And look how quick those Ushaptis go down against the Trolls and the Black Orcs and as well as some of the Broken Tusk Mob here. So. But yeah, that's something I did a little bit of testing, and maybe I can show you guys. Yeah, maybe I'll do another video kind of showcasing that. But Black Orcs actually can beat Ushapti and Skeleton Warriors, which comes out to about the same cost, and it's a very typical thing you'd see in this matchup. So I'm telling you guys, just go with Black Orcs. And you don't necessarily have to use Trolls. I would recommend it. Like, give them a try, see how it works. And yes, the Tomb Kings do have answers to it. If the Tomb Kings bring Skeleton Archers and like a very typical, I mean, I guess it's not typical anymore, but instead of bringing Ushapti and like things like that, if they bring Skeleton Archers, they can melt your Trolls incredibly quick. But no Tomb Kings players do that. They always just bring Ushapti Great Bows or some sort of a construct variant. This build was fairly unique itself, so it was a bit of a surprising matchup. But I just wanted to show you guys that they can work, and even against Skeleton Horseman Fire and things like that, they perform pretty well. So the next one I want to show you guys is going to be a matchup I had where I was playing the Tomb Kings and I was facing off against Bretonnia. So I wanted to go with a very narrow Tomb Kings build and see if it would work against Bretonnia. Typically, I think it's better to go a little bit wider. You don't really need the Tomb Guard infantry, just get skeletons and go a little bit wider with the build, but I wanted to try something narrow here. So I have Arkin the Black, I have a Necrotech, 3 Tomb Guards, and then 2 with Halberds, Ushapti Great Bows. I have the Iro Titan, which is going to be giving me the Winds of Magic for what's his name, Arkin the Black. And yeah, a very, very narrow Tomb Kings build, which I just wanted to see if it would work. My opponent's build was so cool, and I really liked it. It was super wide. And one thing that caught me off guard, I didn't see any calves. So just looking at this build, he has Foot Squires in the front, which will do very well against Tomb Guard, probably with their anti-infantry. Although I think Tomb Guard would win 1-to-1. I'm not sure. I haven't done that testing. He does have King Lewin on foot, so he's going to be a little bit harder to take out. Lords on foot obviously get knocked around. They don't always take that impact damage. He has halberds in the secondary line, so Foot Squires are going to break my infantry. He has a ton of halberds, a bunch of missile play. You can see just peasant bowmans and things like that. So my Ushapti Great Bows, I didn't really have any targets. My Necrosphinx didn't have any targets. There was literally nothing for my big monsters to beat down effectively. And ultimately, they're probably just going to end up fighting Men-at-Arms with Polearms. So I really like this build for my opponent. I thought it was incredibly cool, and I was really excited to show you guys this game. So the Ushapti Great Bow still doing a good job, just melting some peasant bowmen. In the forest, he did have one group of Grail Knights, but definitely some good mind games. I was so focused on this blob, I figured he couldn't afford anything else. He does also have Lore of Heavens with Wind Blast, which is incredibly powerful. So you can see the Necrosphinx, it's going to wreck these Foot Squires pretty hard, especially with the Tomb Guard support here. They're going to get through this pretty quick, but he has so much stuff that it's really not a big deal. And the Peasant Bowmen, I mean, it's just kind of a density of fire thing. The Peasant Bowmen are going to be shooting in, and I thought he didn't have any cap. I thought this was his whole army, so a very big mistake on my part. I used the Fate of Buna to melt these Foot Squires, which ultimately isn't terrible. It's going to allow my Tomb Guard to get into these halberds, which could potentially buy time for my Iro Titan and things like that. And I do have my halberds on the flanks, just kind of mucking things up, but they're going to get cut through by these guys most likely. The Iro Titan's just going full Kaiju right here, or Jaeger, whatever you guys want to say, and he's melting a lot of these troops. So the battle's going okay so far. My Necro Sphinx is getting a little bit surrounded by halberds and things like that, and also there is going to be some heavy fire coming from these peasant bowmen, and even if it only does like 1 damage a pop, it's going to add up. And you can see they're shooting at Arc in the Black. But this was a moment that I was like, oh god, I'm in trouble. I saw these Grail Knights coming from the forest, and he delayed with them so much that I committed all of my defensive resources. Like, I don't need to worry. He has no cap. He's just going an infantry blob. But this one group of Grail Knights is going to get through and just go balls deep on my Chosen of the Gods back here. So if you look here, they get in, just chase down my Chosen. So I have to peel my Necro Sphinx really quickly. And Arc in the Black's coming in. I'm also peeling my Halberds. So I don't take that much damage, and I should be able to get a couple of these guys, maybe. It looks like this guy might be able to cleave one of those. And wow, that one knight just took that beating like an absolute champ. So Arc in the Black just kind of rolling around, just getting his chariot in here. So I was a little bit safe at this point, but the Grail Knight's just able to outmaneuver me a little bit. So I'll be pulling back up to defend there, but in the front line, it's going okay. You can see the Tomb Guards are pushing through. The Iro Titan's doing a pretty good job. But these Tomb Guards are starting to melt through these Foot Squires. He has a very healthy blob right here. King Lewin is just being a hero of his people, and man, it's pretty cool seeing King Lewin on foot in like a competitive game. So right now, he's just leading the boys, and I could try and goon him probably. I could have gotten the Iro Titan and a couple other tools, but I don't know. I didn't feel like it was... I felt like just kind of securing and just winning through attrition would be more the way to play here. But my Chosen of the Gods taking a little bit of damage from some peasant bowman fire, and then also these Grail Knights are able to do some work, so he's just kind of whittling me down. And but the Iro Titan's in good shape, the Necro Sphinx is in really good shape, but I have this feeling that if he's able to kill my Tomb Guards, like, I'm just not going to have enough kind of output to take out this density of filthy peasants. I mean, there's so many of them. Foot Squires, there's halberds, there's tons of these archers, there's a full group of men-at-arms with polearms here who can honestly stand and fight an Iro Titan all freaking day. So he does retreat over into the forest with the Grail Knights. I was able to fend those off, so a very even fight at this point, and I am going to probably be getting my Shopti summoned, so you can see it's just grindy, just working down my Tomb Guard, just isolating my constructs, and even though, like, I felt like it was going okay in terms of the balance of power and everything, at this point in the battle, I was kind of like, I just don't have that much. Like, I was looking around, like, where are my troops? I mean, I have these big constructs, and Arc in the Black was got isolated a little bit here, which was very bad, and King Lewin somehow waddled his way over, so he's on foot. And how fast is he on foot? Does he have 43 speed? Is that for real? Oh man, he's pretty fast on foot, so King Lewin actually rocking a pretty good speed modifier there. He does pop the Sword of Corone, which is very powerful. And my Necro Sphinx is going to come in and just start, oh man, he gets a great hit on King Lewin there, so definitely good. But these peasant bowmen, I mean, they did take some damage over the fight. I was able to get some Tomb Guard back there, but he's going to be reforming them and starting to shoot in on my constructs. And with the Sword of Corone, and does he have Curse of the Midnight Wind too? I think he does. Let's go ahead and look here. So Curse of the Midnight Wind, and we look here. So that lowers armor by 30. So that's a really cool synergy with kind of the hordes of peasants and low tier stuff that if all these peasants are shooting in on Iro Titans and these guys, and they only have like 80 or 90 armor, it's going to be a lot more damage. So Arc in the Black kind of got dragged into the Shadow Realm here. I had to retreat. But what I did is I retreated him and then summoned some Shopti who were able to really take out some of these Grail Knights. So this was a good situation for me. The curse goes off. The balance of power did teeter a little bit back towards the middle, but honestly, like, if you guys look, my stuff is just getting swarmed and there's too many halberds left. I mean, even the Foot Squires with their AP, the Peasant Bowmen, like, I didn't have any tools for shutting them down. Although, it was a good situation. I killed the Grail Knights. Arc in the Black starting to, crumble and take damage. So at this point, that's pretty much it. My opponent's peasant hordes are going to be able to take out the Tomb Kings, and I thought this was such a cool build. Because typically when I play this matchup, I use like a front line, maybe like 3 or 4 Foot Squires, a couple halberds. I don't use Peasant Archers, and I just use Grail Knights. Now, I still think a Grail Knight build would have worked here, and he probably would have smashed me, because my build was a little bit, it wasn't the best. But I thought it was really cool that my opponent was able to showcase this build. He played very well. It was really cool seeing King Lewin on foot, and I really, really liked it. So yeah, it was definitely some fun stuff. So very well played to my opponent, Markrox. So hopefully you guys enjoyed those 2 replays. We got to see some trolls in action. We got to see the Tomb Kings being rode down by the noble Bretonnians. Definitely always a feel-good situation. So yeah. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and take care.